my house in Clanfield in Hampshire in the UK. Obviously, I wanted to say a very quick message to condolences to the royal family for losing our most esteemed Queen Elizabeth II, who did a glorious reign, really. I'll say a bit more at the end. It's very interesting with the astrology because there are aspects of that which you might have say could have been foreseen, in particularly linking in with what Pam Gregory said about the full moon for the 10th of September. So that's what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about 3 astrologers and what they've said. The first one is Pam Gregory, a British astrologer. Basically, she says, so this full moon is in Pisces, and that's the last astrological sign. So it really is a mature sign, and it sees things at the greater, higher level. What an appropriate time, really, the connection there with the death of the esteemed Queen Elizabeth. Very, very sad at the moment in the UK, and we're all trying to come together and mourn. Many of us, not everyone, obviously, but many people. So Pam says October, November is a massive actual months for the world. And this in a way is a precursor. So there's a solar partial eclipse in October coming and a total eclipse on the 8th of November, which will be huge, she thinks, for the world. And there are solar flares which increase energy coming from the sun. I definitely felt it harder to sleep. I'm actually into a strange pattern, often waking at 3 a.m. and going back not to sleep not much before 5 a.m. I'm not sure whether that is linking in with some of the energies. But also it's about the old order unraveling. So, and I have to say, it's like the old guard changing and the new guard coming in. Well, that's just happening now in the UK. And she talks about Aries in Aries, heightened sense, control versus freedom. And she said very much recently in the last year, really, about the people versus the state, control versus that freedom. And you've got the moon triggering, so you've got Saturn Uranus square on the 1st of September, and on the 6th you've got Aries Pluto square with the moon and full moon actually today, the 10th. So it was a very busy chart when she showed it. She said that's 3 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. UK time, and at 17 degrees, I think she said 9 minutes of Pisces. So it's about kind of what's coming to closure, because Pisces is that last sign in the horoscope. What secrets as well are held, which are becoming clear, because the full moon always shows us very often secrets that are being withheld, because it's like the full light of the moon coming down. And Pisces is spiritual, it's creative, it's artistic, it links to the altered states, and nature, music, poetry, and a sort of drifty feeling, a bit dreamy, dream state like, and connecting to source and divinity. And it's linked very strongly to Neptune, and Neptune really links with our dreams. So it's a good time to have a diary which you then record the dreams in, and then you can really look back and start to see, oh, there's some messages maybe, or what does this mean? Pisces, it also has less positive aspects, as do all star signs. It can be linked to pollution, toxicity, addictions, deceit, and things may not always be as they seem. So bear that in mind as well. It can also link to flooding, so Neptune with the moon as well. And where we've had so much dryness that now there's deluges happening and the ground is hard, and you're seeing some of these problems. Obviously, Pakistan was very unfortunately flooded very badly since my last broadcast, I think. I have to say, I think I saw something like that in a precursor sort of dream, and I was really shocked because you could see kind of from a long way up, you could kind of see how flooded it was. So yeah, difficult times. But also Pisces is linked to a more refined spiritual state, and lots about mental energy. And Pam talks about Mars in Gemini till March 23, and it retrogrades end of October. And Mars energizes, so it's about activity. So new facts, information, and she talks about sifting and using discrimination of Virgo, or the overwhelm. So drop into the heart. So Virgo is actually in the sun sign at the moment. So it's Virgos very much. I'll talk about that in a minute. But drop into the heart, use the body, she says, almost as a pendulum, or actual people that have pendulums. I've got one here around my neck, could think about using it to discern, because it's about discerning so much information coming at us at the moment. And also the planets are in mutable signs. So Sun, Venus, Mars, Neptune, Moon in mutable, flexible signs. So that can mean, as she explained it, scattered energy, a bit like light going into a prism and it scatters it. So just be aware there. And that's what she means about discerning carefully. She talks about Sun in trine with the North Node, and the North Node is about the future and new ideas and new information, may be linked with food and agriculture, which we've talked about before. And Ceres, it was between Saturn and Pluto, showing shortages, and indeed that's what's happening, I think, with some of the grain being withheld in Ukraine. So new ideas are welcome, re-agriculture. And she talked about some dwarf planets which seem quite influential at the moment. She does go off on these tangents a little bit and loses me slightly, because obviously her knowledge is so vast, and she only gives us a little bit of it. She talked about Teheran Hayawako. In myth, he was a farmer god, and about creating seeds for the future, so a creator god and a shift of consciousness, and for the future and abundance. And he sort of helps alleviate food shortages and things. So that's quite encouraging. So, actually there in the astrology, helping people, inspiring people. And she talks a bit about, sorry, onto my next page, Saturn in Aquarius squaring the node axis. So good for new social networks for long term, almost very quick, coming in quickly, positive aspect. Now also Mercury is going retrograde. I think it went retrograde yesterday, and it's magnified in Libra with the air, mind, choice, and things to do with duality. So Pisces, Libra, Gemini, a little bit about duality and active and risen up at the moment. So be astute in our choices, as she says. Choose fear versus love, and be aware, what are you choosing at the moment? Because this is a very important time to choose the right things, the right groups, the right associations, the right friendships, and so on. She talks about opposed by Jupiter, and conjunct, and she talks about Salacé, which was the mermaid wife of Neptune, brings in brilliant white light, liquid light, and we can create and recreate with that, and a shift from the carbon to the crystal light. We're going into sort of quantum physics and things, so it's way beyond me, but there is this feeling of recreating in a different way and in a lighter way, and linked with love as well. And also she talked about Libra and Sagittarius, which link with the law, legal developments at this time. So and possible deceits coming to light. Well, we've been having months and months and months of those anyway already. And also she talked about the dwarf planet Orcus in Virgo, and he punishes oath breakers and exposes their lack of integrity, punishes those who broke sacred laws, and he only looks forward to creating with love. So you can sort of see, perhaps, hopefully, that this links to a new way of creating new things, which are actually more linked to truth. And also people using light and sound to help heal people. And also, as you mentioned again, retrograde planets. So there's several planets in retrograde, which really means about slowing down and reviewing. So you've got Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, all retrograde. and really about reviewing, taking time to go internally and looking at what have we chosen and have we chosen rightly? What can we do about it? So there's some really nice, helpful things she's talked about there. And density to lightness and the earth connection. So to staying focused. And she uses daily positive affirmations, which I've used quite a bit and put in my de-stress you manual as well. And choosing the negative inputs, going against the negative inputs and using positive information only. So choosing to ignore the news should it upset you, should you not wish to have this stuff rammed down your throat constantly, then it's entirely up to us what we actually live with. So choose peace, choose nature, and center ourselves in peace, love, joy, compassion, and happiness. And join the right groups as well. Really important to support ourselves at the moment. I've been speaking to a few people, and some people are still feeling, oh, hang on, I'm a bit at sea here. It will happen. We will actually crystallize into the right areas for us, but there is a real period of transition. So I'm on to Tania Gabrielle, an American astrologer who also looks at numerology. And she talks about the full moon in Pisces, conjunct with Neptune. And it's the ruler of the age. We move from that age to Aquarius. So whenever it occurs, Pisces, it's going to be a really big thing. And also Virgo in the sun, 17 degrees. She talks about events happening now and in the months to follow and significant events. And Pisces very much, of course, it's the last sign. So it's about endings, about forgiveness, about compassion, about letting go. It's about intuition, dreaming. We all are all one, and it's actually a bridge into another reality. And she interestingly mentioned, and these are all pre-recorded way before what's happened in the last 2 days. She talked about death and rebirth. So in you could translate that in our country where I'm talking from about the Queen dying, and we now have a new king immediately. So that's what happens here. It happens immediately. And about water reaching everywhere, so feeling limitless and exploring new dimensions. So she talked about the date, 10th of September 2022, translates in numerology as 16, and 16 is the number of inspiration. And there is also a trine between the sun, Uranus, and the moon and Uranus. And actually, when she mentioned this, I saw a blue light and it was quite big. So it's very significant. And Uranus is about inspiration and breaking free from the old and unexpected changes and navigating from the heart. So bear that in mind for this period we're going into. Very much about getting rid of the old order and bringing in the new in the nicest possible way. No disrespect to anyone or anything really there. And about unconditional love, which is activated in us. And Virgo in the sun, 17 degrees. Virgo very much about being meticulous, about researching, healing, health, control, and perfection sometimes as well. Virgos can be very into perfection. And Pisces sees, though, the grander scheme of things at the higher level, whereas Virgo, she says, likes to meddle because it's not quite happy with stuff or to find the truth, so can really research very heavily. And also about surrendering. So Pisces is about surrendering to the current flow, the here and now, the present, and about patience, very much about patience as well. Virgo is well about health and peace, but Uranus in there is about getting things done quite quickly. I feel as well from the strands that I can see, that it really is going to be a time of quick, sudden changes. So I think really be aware of that and be flexible. And she talks about some of the things we've mentioned already. Pisces with hidden secrets, psychic, intuitive, And also on the negative side, the illusions, maybe even a haze, being a bit hazy about stuff. But on the positive side, and with Pisces and Virgo, be inspired, be compassionate, and don't judge. Don't go so much into the mind, because judging is about being in the mind. Stay in the heart, which is love based. And by acknowledging the self, we allow expression, allowing others to see that. And in the past, we may have been passive, she talks about, but actually now step into our power, celebrate what we did, and reinforce our own energy. So don't let others take our power. And Virgo is about the small things, but they're important. So acknowledge the small thoughts and reflect. Those are reflected in the outside world then. And relationships may change. So the perception of the self changes, and therefore the reflection is that our outside world changes. And if we stop judging others, then that's a signal, basically, to the outside world that we get better things come in, maybe better relationships. And Uranus rules the future. So, and Pisces is about dissolving and letting go. Anger can be let go, as it is really bad on the mind and the body, often can be a real problem with illnesses. So let go of anger. Pisces is about forgiveness, and it's a spark of the divine in us, and compassion helps as well. So see that we can be more in service every day, Virgo and Pisces, and no longer a victim. And I really have felt this. I put out a few posts about some of the things I've been doing to help myself, and I'm trying to get that sort of message out that we can all help ourselves. Self-care products, gardening, creating our own food, doing our own dishes, not necessarily buying loads of things, but actually buying things which we can then make other things from, and being practical. So Pisces dreamy state. She also mentioned I thought quite well really. Be near water, drink water, listen to the music of water, and forgive the self. All is a mirror, and as what we project, we will see come back. So if we return to love with Pisces and Virgo, then it really helps and reconnect to the soul level. So all very ethereal. Back down to earth with amazing Bracha Goldsmith, who I see has got a massive following, and I can see why. She's always very practical and just comes across as extremely genuine. And she talked about it's the time of Pisces, romance, healing, cosmic love with this full moon, divine love, compassion, imagination, and creativity, and tune into our intuition. I've spoke about that a lot, and anyone that has studied with me on the De-Stress Use program knows that we include our cards, message cards with beautiful pictures in there. So that's what I'm kind of trying to get to. People all have intuition, and you can develop it. And Virgo is very much about service to others, and Pisces is about kind of a world peace dream as well. So Mercury as well rules Virgo. It's in opposition to Jupiter in Aries, so which is a co-ruler of Pisces. So there's a sort of thing expanding and growing the self. So Mercury versus Jupiter, what do we aspire to? What about our career? What about our relationships? And Mercury in Libra, how can we be messengers of peace and bring to our internal world? So things she talked about would be meditation, even working with animals or being with animals, forgiveness, let go. And also Virgo rules speech, so having harmony in our own speech. And wait and be silent for now. And this really actually does tune in to how Great Britain feels, perhaps a bit at the moment. Have this little time to just get used to what's happening in our own world. And silence is golden, she mentioned, but the music happens between silences. And there are 5 planets in the mutable signs, and that kind of mutable is about flexibility. So that is a big clue, like how can we be more flexible? Just be prepared to be flexible. I think the messages are all there. and then time to develop as well. We can develop regularity. So Virgo is quite good at all of this: journaling, writing, discipline with time, and getting quick results. Uranus will help speed that up as well, and radiating cosmic love. I've just got one little anecdote before I finish as well, which I'll say a little bit about the Queen as well. Is that, and I was in one of our cheaper shops, which I mainly shop in now, called Lidl's, the other day, and I had a load of stuff in my trolley. A young boy was before me, I don't know, he was 13, 14, and he basically said, "Can I help you?" I was astounded, like hardly ever get offered help, and he very carefully put all my things out of the trolley, which I was finding quite hard on my shoulder to get everything out, and he very kindly helped me. Then he made his own purchase, one thing, and then he carried on helping me. I was like speechless almost, quite. But I thought that is really in service. So he had really tuned in to what's going on, and it made my day, really made my day. So anyway, and also, by the way, Bracha mentions this is a great time to meet our soulmates. That doesn't just mean love type, one-on-one relationship, can be friends. Great time to gather that in. So really happy full moon in Pisces. I know it's not the happiest time in our country, but I was going to say, may we grieve about Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II together, touch our hearts with peace and harmony, and welcome in Charles III as King to continue her good work and follow her great statesman-like gift of solid, quiet but hardworking leadership. And Charles is now the king, and we will move towards, after some 10 days of mourning, a better harmonious time. So very great, happy full moon in Pisces, and I hope that helps, and stay positive, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.